We're really excited here at Crosswinds Aviation to have our Redbird TD2 simulator. We feel it's going to be a really great training aid for our student pilots, as well as clients who rent our aircraft, who are maintaining their IFR currency. We've done a couple things with our simulator here. First, in terms of the capabilities of our sim. So it has retractable, complex, and high-performance capabilities in the simulator. So you can either do just kind of a straight 172 SP setup, or you can do like a 182, and you can do the retractable. With the Redbird, we also have it hooked up to pilotedge.net, which provides ATC services if you're flying within the SoCal Center region. Basically, once you connect to start your flight, you put yourself at a general aviation ramp, you simply connect to PilotEdge and tune the frequencies just like you always would for clearance delivery or for ground or tower or departure. So if you're wanting to practice ATC communications, or of course working on instrument rating, it's a fabulous service, but it really changes the orientation while you're in the sim. It makes it a much more serious and real environment. And we also have the sim connected through our Wi-Fi network to your tablet or phone device with ForeFlight or WingX. The simulator is broadcasting its position data. That also makes the simulation more realistic. A lot of our pilots do fly with iPads or tablets or phones to do our charts, do our flight planning, approach plates, everything that we have in ForeFlight now we can use in the simulator with the GPS coordinates being transmitted. So we're also putting together some IFR and actually VFR curriculum that combine the simulator training in with the syllabus of flying in the actual aircraft. I think we all are pretty aware that the aircraft is not a great learning environment. When you're in there with your instructor, it's loud, you're trying to fly the plane. It's just not a great classroom. What we find is that the learning curve in the airplane tends to be quite a bit lower than when we're in the sim room. So you're working on your instrument procedures, or practicing for your instrument rating, or working on your instrument currency. You can be on the sim, in the procedure, and if something's not going well, your instructor can pause it and get the whiteboard out, talk about the situation. So what we find is that the learning curve and how quickly they get through the actual flying part of the syllabus, it happens much faster. We've created an IFR syllabus that combines simulator time and airplane time, where you learn the procedures, you learn everything in the sim first, and you go fly in the plane and practice it. We think that doing the sim and the airplane training together, we anticipate it saving our students, our clients, about 25 to 30%. But even for VFR pilots, we're finding that the simulator is a great environment to work on cross countries. Again, you have ATC services available to you, so if you're somebody that's, say, maybe 80% through private rating, you can start doing your cross-country practice in the sim. And even for the IFR people who have their instrument ticket, it is an FAA-approved simulator to come in and do your currency on, so you can do your 6 approaches, your hold, your nav tracking. You don't need to be with an instructor. You can come in, rent the simulator for an hour, get all of your IFR currency done, and for a very low cost, you can stay current for IFR, so that when you want to actually take a trip, you're ready to go. So the simulator is a really great place to learn the G1000 avionics system in the airplane. So we have Cessna 172s. It's a plane it's pretty much the same as it's been since they started building it 50 years ago. However, now they have what they call glass panel. Glass panel is basically 2 LCD screens in the plane. And all of our avionics, our flight planning, all the information that we need as a pilot to fly the aircraft and to navigate the aircraft are all now done in software on these 2 screens. These glass cockpits, they add a lot of really nice capabilities for pilots to be able to get weather from the XM satellites. Flight planning is done much easier now. This system, while it's fundamentally the same as what we used to fly, there's a lot of additional options. It can be somewhat overwhelming for some people. We find that teaching the G1000 system, especially for our new students who aren't familiar with flying to begin with, when they're also trying to learn the avionics system, what we find is that in the simulator, it's very easy to put our students in there for a couple hours of training to teach them the fundamentals behind the system, so that when they're in the airplane, they're not overwhelmed by it. We have a lot more information in these systems that we used to have, especially weather data. We get live weather data from the XM system, and having that kind of information, as you can imagine when you're flying, is really invaluable. You can divert to an airport that you didn't expect to go to, and you have all the information in the cockpit that you used to have to look through books to find and such. We also use our simulator quite a bit for G1000 transition training. So we have quite a few people who come here. They've been flying steam gauge aircraft for years. They'd like to get into the glass cockpit and start, renting our glass cockpit airplanes. Basically, we have a core VFR part of the training. It's comprised of 4 lessons. That will get you through understanding all of the electrical systems, how to deal with any potential failures of any of the components of the system. After your core training, we also offer 7 lessons of Ifr training. Pilot Edge offers communication ratings. So when you're in our sim, you can actually go through certain scenarios that Pilot Edge offers. They have particular flights that they'll have you fly while you're with their ATC. They will actually be an examiner for you on that flight to measure whether you pass or fail communications for that flight. So they start out with VFR procedures, and then you go into IFR procedures, Class Bravo airspace and taxiing procedures. You can come into our sim, plan out your flight for that scenario, and go through a specific syllabus with Pilot Edge that by the time you're done, you should be a very, very proficient pilot at communicating with ATC. The other thing that really works well for the simulator is we all know as student pilots quite often will have a flight planned with our flight instructor, and we'll come out to the airport and the weather just doesn't work out that well. Obviously, weather is a big factor in flying, and we do have a fair number of times where weather will get in the way and we can't go flying. Most of our students are at a spot in their training where if you come out to the airport for a lesson and the weather doesn't work out, there's always something that we can do in the simulator to continue working on your pilot license or your IFR rating. There's always a way to continue your lessons in the simulator so that if you do come out to the airport for a lesson, we can still make good use of your time in the simulator.